to nature, but we're gonna listen to her and understand and be able to translate these rights until we understand and change our mindset to have a more biocentric approach to our living. So, Natalia Green, if you can introduce yourself and with the rest of it. Okay.
That's 5 minutes each, and let me know. So, hi everybody. My name is Natalia Green. I'm from Ecuador. I'm the director of the Global Alliance for the Right to Nature as a graduate with the National Right to Nature Tribunal, and it's a real pleasure to be sharing with you all today. This idea that we're bringing to God, the idea that is not only a concept, a theory, it's something that we live, it's something that we feel, that is that nature is alive, that we are nature, and that we're nature protectors. And that we are really talking about it, and not only saying it aloud, but we're really feeling it. But we're bringing to those negotiations is actually the voice of Mother. The understanding that nature is alive, that nature has inherent rights, and that we need to change our relationship, our fundamental relationship with nature. Because there is a complete disconnection. A disconnection that thinks about nature as a resource, when nature is the source of life. We can change the disconnect and understand that nature is not an object that you exploit, but a subject that you protect. Then that can make a huge difference. And a huge difference not only what we're living right now and what we're living today, but in the negotiations right now, that I'm talking about climate and doing something for it. When climate is only a symptom of an earth that is hurting, because we have been thinking and living and treating nature as an object, because we keep exploiting nature, thinking that she's a resource and an object. And we change that relationship, then by not only the negotiations can move forward, but we can understand that our own life is at stake. So the idea that we're bringing forward with the rights of nature at COP30 is that we are especially thinking that because COP is happening in the Amazon, in the heart of the Amazon, we are promoting the Declaration of the Rights of the Amazon. A statement, a declaration that came out of Postbat in Bolivia, and that we've been working with civil society from all over the Amazon to understand that the Amazon needs to have an independent voice, not only from the governments that own it, because nature cannot be owned, but also that the Amazon herself needs to have a voice. What is nature saying? How can we not reach that tipping point that we're so close if we actually hear what the Amazon needs to tell us? So we're bringing forward the Declaration of the Rights of the Amazon. We're also bringing the rights of Antarctica. It is biome that is far there, like far south, that people are not looking at it, but is a victim of climate change. That is an opportunity, unique opportunity of governance to change the way we relate to Antarctica. Because if you see it here, our allies that are working for the rights of Antarctica are amazed that many of the maps that we see in this COP don't even mention or don't even have Antarctica. She's not present in the negotiations, and she needs to have a voice, and that's also what we're bringing to COP. We also have are done with a 4-day pre-summit that we developed with GARD. One of these days it was over with the 6th International Right to Nature Tribunal, and here you have a pact that we have signed that we are bringing to go. That is a new pact with Mother Earth, a pact that the International Right to Nature Tribunal has signed with judges from all over the world that are saying that we need to change our relationship with nature. And we've heard communities from all over the world saying that we have to end the fossil fuel era. But to do this and to transit out of the fossil fuel era, we cannot think mining. That is what is affecting our territory, especially the territories of Ecuador, where I come from. And finally, we also came to come with the message of the components and the complementarity of the rights of indigenous people and the rights of nature. The people who are guiding our movement, and unfortunately, Casey will be here with us today. She's the director of our Indigenous Council of Guards. She wasn't feeling okay, so she couldn't join us. However, they are our wisdom keepers. The notion that nature is our mother comes from indigenous people for millennia. And now indigenous people are saying the same in science, the same thing. The nature communicates, the nature is alive, and the nature has to be present here, understanding that she's our mother, and that we cannot put a price on nature. Hence, all the negotiations that are talking about finalization of nature cannot continue because nature is alive, and we cannot put a price on nature. That's what our indigenous council and elders are telling us, and that's the wisdom that we're bringing to this space. I want to end by saying that because this panel is talking about youth, the Global Alliance for Regeneration has a youth hub that is a really amazing space to bring the voice of youth to this space, how to educate youth about the idea of the rights of nature and how they manipulate this message and bring together young people into action to really bring this regenerative action that cannot happen if we keep thinking about ways to just like arrange the problem or just like arrange it with the surface, but really change the system. When we're talking about climate resilience, we're not thinking about just particular actions. We're talking about that climate change cannot happen if there is not a systemic change. And that's the idea that we're bringing forward with the movement of the rights of nature. A movement that started in my country, Ecuador, that has brought the idea in 2018 to this constitution, a constitution that is now going to be changed. We're having a vote this Saturday, and that is being reached. And a constitution that was able to empower and to really bring this movement forward to more than 40 countries in the world, especially not only countries, but especially ecosystems and rivers that now have rights, making this the fastest growing movement in the world. So I want to thank you for your attention and tell you that we are nature protecting itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalia. I'm going to give the floor now to Vanessa Hasson, who is a PhD in the rights of nature. She will be able to explain a little bit how the rights of nature can be applied in a grassroots level, starting from the very communities who join together to protect the rights of the rivers, the rights of the mountains, the rights of an ecosystem. And how from this grassroots level we can go up to the country's constitution. So we're going to be talking then about the Brazilian experiences about the rights of nature. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you, Lily. Yes, that's it. So I'm Vanessa Hasson. I'm the founder of the Mapas NGO. And we bring the movement for the rights of nature for the definition of rights of nature since 2015. And for many reasons, we started from the local communities. And imagine that if we can put on the law, economizing on the law in this field, in the local field, the law will be more clear by the people. So we have another opportunity that is Brazil has a federal system, a law federal system. So we have municipal constitutions. That's also like the federal constitution, but in local field. When we recognize, we can have a know if we have our participation. Yes. Okay, you can put the next piece, the next sheet, like slide piece. As I have only 5 minutes, I just want to show our map. Yes, this one. So since 2015, we have putting rights of nature in the local view. And then when, as we have the law in the highest level of the law in the local view, we can bring the public policy law with so the recognition and the empowerment of the activities which can do the nation has the proper rights. For example, as the Ecovillage do, showing and putting the real and in practice way the activities will each can do the rights of nature here or here in practice. So please read what there inside the next slide, please. Yes, this is the river ash is one of the last recognitions we have in Brazil. Now we have like 90 laws recognizing rights of nature. Put the on the side, the land side, we have which have been acted. And we have 19 laws in the Constitution, municipal Constitution, and we have already 5 rivers recognizing that map is. So that map shows those laws, and for example, about public policies, we have 4 rivers, quarantine committee. It's Constitution to develop activities, develop the right to fight for legislation, in this case, illegal. Yes, that's our, yeah. And about young people. In Marcos, we have now with the management of the organization living by young people. So we are thinking this thought, this way of thought about nature from the young people and the young people mostly in the local. And that's an idea to spread the message by the practice way, and not only by the law, not only as law or making or the nation, but the law making the possibility to do things, to do practices, to do activities in which we can see the respect to the nature of you. So I thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Vanessa. This is one of the examples that is very successful example we have here. It all starts with community. It all starts with the needs of the very basic element of the earth that we all need, which is water. And so we need to understand that all these communities need to be empowered, and the voices need to reach those people in order for them to have their voices heard and through them represent the nation. I want to pass the floor now to Daria, and I want her to give us a very good example of Suriname and understand how the integration between the community lifestyle helps us to better communicate and better embrace nature and embrace by nature.
Manny, I agree with you when you say that the work starts, all the work starts with the community, and it does end with the community. My name is Saria Eita. I work as a lawyer in Suriname, Superior English of Brazil. I'm here today representing the Association of Samaka Communities. We work with the Samaka in Suriname, and we fight for the land rights and preservation of our rivers and forests in Suriname. Our struggle reached its climax in November 2007, when the International Court of Human Rights ruled that the Samaka have land rights, and these rights must be respected by the national government. An important note in this case is that Suriname needs government until today. The judgment of the International Court hasn't been implemented by the Surinamese government. But another important note is that the Inter-American Court ruled specifically ruled that the rivers and the forests are the life of the Samaka. So without the rivers and the forests, there is no life for the Samaka. So our struggle continues, and we constantly work with the communities to make them aware of the importance of those rivers and those forests in Suriname. And in practice, we do this by implementing a three-pillar approach, which means men, women, and youth. This is the intergenerational strategy of the association of Samara communities. And in practice, we learned that our youth are the best, in practice, the best. So our vision is brought the best by our youth. And we do know that when it comes to climate, subjects of climate and the importance of nature, our rivers, our forests, we do know that our youth, if we invest in our youth, they can bring our message the best and set the basis for our future. That's our message.
Thank you very much. So we understand when communities are empowered, they can do a lot. But I want to talk now about, we've been talking about spirituality and nature as a subject. But now I want to talk a little bit about the practicalities. So how do we recognize the rights of nature in practice? As the Global Ecovillage Network, we have today over 6,000 communities and ecovillages spread in 6 continents, and they all put into practice the rights of nature. And one example is what the ecovillages are just self-declaring them as sanctuaries of life and peace, in harmony with the rights of nature. So I want to just explore a little bit of these practicalities. How can we put all the nature to be recognized, but also what are the examples that the ecovillages show that we can just share today to this audience in terms of the ecological parts, the social, how do they, how are their governance, in terms of how they make decisions together, and yeah, how the communities can just like be living examples of respecting nature and living harmony.
Yes. I'm Flávio from Brazil, and I have a news. I'm working to the news in Brazil, news, and villages are sustainable communities, and it's a good place to practice our sustainable lives. So, in the villages, we have some important things that you can live and experiment with the sustainable practice. Okay? It's a good place to grow and young people grow in an environmental place that they can experiment this life. I think that's more difficult that we have in communities are the social parts of the people that when we start in evolution. And the difficult that we have is make a common vision and open mind to new ways of life and new needs that we have. We know that now we are in the forest. And a lot of things that we need to do, we have a difficulty to do these things. We don't have only climate crisis, but we have a spiritual crisis too, because we have some egoism. In these parts of the egoism that we have difficulty to turn the things that we need a real part of life, because we need to change our heads. Okay? So we publish in practice this change of habits, and that's very important. And we believe that in this place it's difficult to us to start the publish, but when we try to do this, the children that live there and born in this place, protection yourself, and they are more prepared to live new habits. Okay? So I think this is the most important things to us to create, produce, to create a new space to practice sustainable and to grow the children in this place to make the difference in the plans. Because we saw that we talked about a lot of things here, but a lot of things we don't believe that we want to let our habits to make difference. And I think the new people that live in Nicholas have more chance to start a create a new habits and make change in the world. Okay?
I think this common vision that we all seek for is to be nurtured by nature, and by being nurtured by nature, we just need to respect its cycles and its relationship with human beings. And I think other good examples that we can share, it's the place we choose to live. So we can choose to live in big cities, or we can choose to live in the countryside. But as long as we respect our home and understand our home is bigger than these 4 floors that make us be in it. If we just have like this vision beyond it and understand that we need to live in harmony with nature in order for us to live right? It's when we understand that our ways to have different cosmovisions, so we are united by this universe that embraces us all. And one of these cosmovisions that we saw with the advice of nature is the respect to Pachamama, understanding that it's not just a planet, it's a planet, it's a mother that it needs to be respected by us. And we talked about when we view swimming outside, but we also understand that it is the sense of the motherhood and the respect that we have with our mothers from since the time that we are born to the place that we choose to be, if that makes a real difference in our lives. And with that, I introduce the girls from Taiwan, which works with the Unlock Taiwan. And I want you to understand how this movement of mothers got together in order to fight climate change, and what are the practical results that you can share with us this morning.
Thank you very much for watching. I'm definitely in all of us Taiwan Association. So I'm not a monk, but I'm new. And this organization, this association, is the forward out of the mothers who care about the environment, which is impacted by nuclear energy. But then now it evolves into more about climate justice and local communities with food, adaptation, and also human power. So I'm part of this organization, and I think I'd like to echo Natalia's quote. He said, how do we change the relationship with nature? I think it's the relationship with nature as very close to is for mostly indigenous cultures. But nowadays, many of the places are colonized, and including Taiwan, I think a very big context of Taiwan, because when we talk about resilience, we need to talk about context. So Taiwan is the other part of the world from Brazil, and it's a small island next to China. And this island is located now is mainly mostly Han Chinese population, which is due to the immigration and also political situation. And there are 2% of indigenous population. So now I think it's mostly Han Chinese. And Taiwan, we have typhoons in the summer, and very, and also in summer, it's also hot. And nowadays, it's very intensified, so there are a lot of extreme typhoons, which brought a lot of torrential rains, which causes landslides. For example, recently in September, in a rural place in Taiwan, which is called Hualien City, there was a natural dam or a natural lake caused by flood because of the torrential rain. There was an overflow of the lake, and now the mudslide or the landslide covered the village of maybe those indigenous tribes and also the people who live in the rural places. So this recent catastrophe, it cost 17 deaths and 32 injuries, and the government evacuated like 6,000 people. But the recovery is very enormous effort. However, in this kind of disaster, we can also see like a part of people where we come together, for example, civil society or private sectors. One thing they had a lot of post-disaster efforts. For example, in relief or a lot of emergency relief, and also civil society. We can see a lot of people they emerge in the station of that city and causes like traffic jam or like a lot of people, crowd of people, and they're there to help to mobilize the post-disaster help. So for our association, we mean that we cannot only act after the disaster, but we need to build resilience and change our relation to nature with the other generations. So we have a project called Planet Communication Academy, which we call workshops and camps. For the workshop, we partners with the local independent bookstore and also some independent filmmakers. We want to cultivate the narrative storytelling skills and also visual storytelling skills among the youth, so they can connect with the local stories in the local context of climate change and landscape, so that they can translate those data, those stories into visuals, into narrative storytelling that would move people's heart to connect with the land and see the local situation. And after those two workshops on narrative building and visual storytelling, there's the camp, the second round of camp, which is on the indigenous land in the indigenous community. And this camp, we collaborated with the indigenous tribe called Ecovillage. And there were a hunter who collaborated with us, which he designed a program in the camp as we did all the vocabularies of the zone which they daily use for plants and animals. We divided the students into plant team and animal team for them to navigate the vocabularies that were given or assigned to them. So they need to, these 4 days, they need to interact with the local people. They need to ask the hunter to, what does this vocabulary mean? And in the end of the camp, they need to write a report through the visuals and the narrative storytelling that we really see and build their skills on. And through this process of interacting with the hunter and the local people, we can slowly see how their view changed as they walk through the streets, walk into the forest, and ask the hunters about the language and what does it mean, how does it relate to the land. Because in our Chinese culture and our Chinese language, it's very different to indigenous peoples because we're not close to land anymore. So you can see how they describe the fish. Is this on the stones? Or how they describe the kind of goat that is appearing in the mountain. They don't use the term for that goat. There's like those actually different, but they use the goat on the so you can see how they relate to the land and to the surroundings. Because if this is home, and the earth home, you would not pay every piece of furniture like here. You would just name it as like in relation to you. So, for example, if you trip over there, if you fell over there, maybe they would name it as the corner where you fell. So you can see how you can slowly, gradually learn through the language and then learn to this culture and the cultural diversity that is in that area. So, cultural diversity is a relatively new term, but I think it is really good for putting into relation with the people in the land and how it makes sense with
From Thailand, let's go to Bangladesh, understand what the people from Bangladesh are doing in regards to the climate adaptations, bringing your history of resilience. Please, really. The microphone. Just bring the microphone.
Sexually, I am from Bangladesh, and I am the founder of the organization named ERBA, Environmental Research and Development Organization. This organization founded in 1998. From that time to now, we are working for the conservation of nature. As already Annie and others told about the mother, how can we need to conserve it and take care of it and protect future generation. Bangladesh is a downstream country. Downstream, there's a big country, and three things that are happening. One is we impacted by the climate change. On the other hand, the upstream country is not sharing resources, especially about the water resources, not sharing equity. Another thing is as a developing country, there are many unplanned development happening. So, with the combination of these three things, our mother, particularly in Bangladesh, day by day, creating problems, damaging our biodiversity, our agriculture, and so on. So, how ELBA is working? ELBA was working with the young people and his young people. We just formed a volunteer group and like school level, the community level, and we train them, we build capacity of this group, and they work with the community, and we are essentially how they adapt in the changing conditions. I am actually give example of our main impact, our related to our work. In Bangladesh, there was 360 freshwater fish species or something like that. Now it is again in 200 species. Already 160 is available. And like that, there are many native foods. When I was a boy, school boy, I have taken many fruits from the surrounding of our area. But nowadays, the children are not getting that. So this area working for conserving the native fish and also native fruits by the capacity building and as I told, involving the young people. And then how we what just admit them how they come to the community and engage, encourage them to design for sustainability. If we are in the age, but we will be taking there, but our young generation will be there. So we are giving capacity to them and engage them for the preserving the mother. We are working in two areas of Bangladesh. One is coastal reserve, and another one is in the townland, in the riverine area. So there we in the coastal reserve we have many problems from the every year Bangladesh facing cyclone. So from there, as already Bangladesh friends discussed about the resilience, about the awareness building, about the response, about the we are also doing these things in the coastal area and in the shore area. This is shore means the riverine area, it's kind of land, but they don't have connection with the mainland. But once there is a heavy flood, put out shore area flooded, so they are facing problem. Here our volunteers groups working during the flood time. They give you anyone they immediately respond from the support of different organizations and from our organization. So it's a the area is the finally, I can say for as we are facing these problems and they will get declining. So we need to act now and we need also from as we are starting from finance problem and we're talking about the different kind of support from the government organization, but we would like to get credit as we are the supplier in Bangladesh. So we need actually grants, not credit. And the name of carbon credit or other thing, people need that kind of support. Directly we need support like that. How we convert our mother as it was, and we would like to get that kind of support. So these are the things actually I think, and this is from my side. Thank you.
I went to go back to Taiwan. and understand how these youth coalition for the climate change started. And so what's your message for the future? If we take into consideration that if we follow the example from the institutions from the North America talks about sustainability, they imply that the decisions made today will have an impact in 7 generations ahead of us. How you as a young person see that, and what's the legacy they wanna leave the world for the 7 generations to come?
Now, thank you. I'd like to think about to present, to talk about what we do in Taiwan. Because I would like to leave some questions for you. That is what we're struggling right now. So it's like this department is affecting all of us around the world. But we're facing the same all these threats. But we can use really a lot of knowledge, even just knowledge of speed, but it's and the sources. So that's why what we do at the local level is so important. We need to have the local that that is designed for the growth, so that we can build things on ourselves. So now we face simply the face of the guys, and I think that we would like to address adaptation at the and that is like one thing that's and that is really related to the government. So adaptation is so important that we're now looking at it. But so far our governments have their own adaptation content that is really probably top and that is a big one. We gave a big picture in Taiwan, and that we are so confident that what we can do, and as our individual aspects. So we go back to build a lot of strategy for adaptation. Or some of you may not know what that's saying. We're living in the sea, it's very hot, and it's so under the street. But currently the government they are doing the project for increasing the shade of the space, so that we can have a middle space at all. But it's going back. It's like nobody tell us how to do it by ourselves. And we as an individual, we have so many we have our own personalities, our habits, but we need to develop the adaptive strategy for ourselves. So as I'm like I study science, so I would like to do the science-based risk assessment for everything. I mean, not only that everyone, everyone should do their own risk assessment. So that is what we're doing right now. It's we want to that you know we have our own risk. So the problem we face in this process is that we do the risk assessment, we're knowing what is ordering what is your face, what's hard on what we're talking about right now. after the risk of, we know there are huge risks for ourselves and also for anyway, but we don't know how to deal with it. That nobody tells us, as the from the individual aspects, but adaptation matters that take under this type of situation. So this is some of our intelligence that we are facing. And also, we want to know the community. So we did the whole study at the ground level. We would like to know if the community has their own knowledge to do adaptation and to base within the risks. But what we found out is that communities have their own issues that they are facing. So this, for example, we have to policy, and there are usually farmers and semiconductors actually over there. So there are very different history of the land, but so there are so many issues about this differences. So they are focusing this kind of issue right now. They cannot think about the adaptation measures for the future. So it's hard to get in or involved in this kind of like really important issues, and we just want to know that as a youth, this kind of community is an issue. So that we overcome so that we can do more on adaptation methods. So this kind of things is what we are doing on the adaptation. So I think not only things, but also like for even for the new market. We all have to do our advisors. So that's what we do for right now. And this is maybe so maybe we have some suggestions or ideas for solutions to be.
So at this moment, we have the opportunity to listen to some examples that in Taiwan, Bangladesh, Brazil, Suriname, and around the world regarding rights of nature, regarding villages, regarding groups of mountains that join themselves to thought and think about solutions for climate adaptations. I would like to have an open question to the table and see how can we translate the youth and these community-led visions, grassroots-led visions to governments. How are these voices, these empowered voices from the youth and the communities reach the governments, and what are the demands that you have? You like talking or meetings and goals,
I can, hello?
Thank you for that question, and thank you everybody for all your presentations. I feel that we are in a space of a lot of disconnection. Even like physically, not all of these conferences, but conference in general, I think that everything is disconnection. The disconnection between the main groups and these rooms, the disconnection between the people who are outside and the people inside. There is disconnection between people coming here and the actual negotiating something there. There's completely disconnection about people in the rooms talking about commons. And people in the community suffering the real issues and not getting those way of being. And there is a connection between other years. I think that we have to start, but it's equal apartheid.
that are part of our health. We have a this connection, and that is what we need to understand first. Like, understand that we have a problem of this complete like a separation that we need to solve. How do we translate not only what the youth are saying, the local community are saying, but what the teaching people are saying, and what we are feeling on the ground? Is first of all by the idea of, as I was sharing, that the nature has rights is really important when you think and you talk about nature's rights. You're also talking about rights, the rights of the indigenous people and local communities, and you're bringing those efforts into these negotiations. As I was saying, indigenous people have been straight for a long time that nature has rights, but science is saying the same message. So that disconnection comes with movement. I think that is like how we need to tackle it. We need to demonstrate that the whole world is coming together. It is the idea that we need to change the system and we need to live together. So we need to break the people apart. I think that for me, that's the most important part of this discussion. What are we breaking the movement? Yes, we are coming with papers, we're coming with documents, we're coming with the impact of Mother Earth. But what we need to really count on is the strategies of how to bring how to come together, how to really do movement building to make the transformation happen faster. So I want to conclude by saying two things. Like one is that I love that William giving this quote that said that in a sea of chaos, islands of coherence make a system change. So we don't need to change all of the system right now. That's impossible. But we can build enough islands of coherence that coming together can make this change that we need. So how do we do that? We do that the same way that the butterfly does. We bring the caterpillar, and the only way that a caterpillar becomes a butterfly is these imaginal cells come together and make this being the caterpillar that eats and eats what we're doing with the earth, just consuming and consuming it. These imaginal cells come together and make the miracle of the butterfly. That's exactly what we're looking to do right now. We don't need to change all the imaginal cells. We need to change enough cells to make this transformation. So how do we break this into apart? By coming together and moving and being a movement and coming together with all the ideas that we've seen this today, that you are all coming from different regions and we're speaking the same language. That we need to understand and change a system of how we do nature. But we do that by coming together. And I feel that the only and the most important thing about this conference is the alignment and the relationship that we're building and how are we making our voice heard in a stronger way.
I'm looking to talk in these departments because in our economic department, it's all cycles all together, talk together. So I will in Senegal, I participated in a gathering promoted by them. It was very big because in Senegal they have a lot of students in difficulties. And then they have approximately 30 communities in Ecovillage in that time. They have supports, technical supports, educational support, and everything. For the young people, they have to go to educational program that they support financial people to go to another country to study things and to application in their communities. This is important because the youth go study things and come back to your communities. Because that we have in Ecovillage and another types of communities, traditional communities, for example, too, is that the young people go after don't come back to this community. And lose your culture and your identity. And the story is very nice because they go to another countries to learn things to that is important to develop your sustainable things in your place. They go and they have pleasure to come back and to applicate these things in your country. And I put some very important advances in that communities. here in Brazil, we're trying to make bots and stable things and create charges to help the producers in recognize and create this problem to young people too. We have gathering in Brazil of the reeds for 47 years, all year. It's older than that's been gathering communities for all of you. And we start in a place that we make a sample, we talk about, and we experiment a diversity of people who live in a community in a one region. We go in a place that we don't have anything, we don't have energy, we don't have infrastructure, and we start to build together with people that we don't know, and we start to make things to survive in 1 week with 1,000 people. That's why it's get things together. And one of the points that the social part that you call with different people, and we make consensus in the time. And one of them that you reminded last year, that's the rules of social group that you have, is that the adults only can do in that moments the things that children can do too. So they can smoke that place, they don't drink alcohol, they respect the nature. So with habits of respect, they start to understand the respect to one each other and the nature that we learn this process and group that we develop in that place, we start to take this route and move to the people. So we have in our status of the village, not we have the rules, but we put the rule that the things that change in this moment in this gathering, change the rules in our village, because it's experimental, it's experimental. So this part of children is very important. Then we can do to
Trying to answer the question, I think we have to let the youth see the questions, the issues, the situations they are called for, they're requested. So we are putting these mappers, as I'm the founder of our organization, but now the management of the organization is on the youth hands. And the spaces, the decision of the spaces has to be effective, to have the representative, youth representative can also do it. So we can be more civics of the energy of the reservation. It's always generating and it's generating in the day of energy. I remember the case of the formation of Amazonia in Colombia. In this case, the lawyers is young, plus young, and they are defending the rights of the child and other youth, these young lawyers, we in the present and in the future. So it's actions like that, in my opinion, and have not youth and can bring more space to the people. So as I'm not young more, just experience yeah, some kind of pain that is but the streets. But here, I think the young people here, we can have sacrifice. What is the request? people like me, I would not it's into national program this however, but people like me has to keep space and also keep stand beside the neighbor who take the not acknowledge to be however we are ready to can support the support.
Yes, I think system differently. We are around 50%. So if we can be from different areas of the art. So if we can engage, for example, in my side, in my area, if I engage 5,000 people for take caring of the mother earth, so it should be a big achievement. So my appeal is to everybody to engage in that way. And another thing is as I work in the grassroots level and also engage something like this kind of forum, I found that the organization GRM, Ecovillage Network, or many other forums around the world. But if you have sometimes we are finding that we are saying we work for the mother, but sometimes due to some different interests, there is a creative problems and actually the work is not what our aim is not achieving due to that kind of problem. So maybe it is not important, but I would like to request all of you where you involved, please actually we would like to implement how can we work for the our nature and also as everybody is saying, we need to involve more and more young generation. Thank you.
In answer to your questions, I think that there are several practical and powerful ways to for the youth and communities to reach government. There are several ways, but I'm not going to number all of them. I think one very important one is that we strengthen community government through dialogue platforms. And what I mean by that is that if we create or use existing spaces where communities can speak freely, we can directly reach policymakers. And I do think it works because it institutionalizes community. So we give their voices, and that is not an option, but it becomes then a requirement. Another important thing is that I do think that community-led research and evidence is good for government. Sometimes in our work with community, we have to learn our communities that government is our partner. So if we have done research and we give to government, it can help with our work and evidence produced by our communities give us other recommendations. for the future. So, we have to learn our communities, I mean, we have done research to have government involved with it. It does help with our
So the goal, is might have, higher capacity, more knowledge, or we have to look at these, creating entities, or we will have a strange or opportunity to escape and, experience, or even in like simple step. Yeah, so this one is, I think. And the other one is, I think, is definitely the pathway to go. So, not only we have to do that actually to be finalists and 1 year on things and also in the future, but also to build that time for you to engage in the policy process. That we are not familiar with the policy process. We don't know where's the channel, how does it work, and what can actually propose. Like something that actually could work. So, we want to know the background or get involved in the policy process. Yes, I think this is do it. Maybe the draft.
It's reminded of how to translate these local issues, knowledge into policies. I think again resonate when I tell you about connection. Like when we bring these youth into the lands where they are more connected to the natural world, we can bring them an experience or emotional change. Because they will suddenly realize, oh, I'm not really that close to nature, or I don't really know plants or the living beings around me, but they do. And why is that? Why is there a gap on this? So they will start to realize this connection and try to bridge the connection back after going into the forest, going into experience in the wild wilderness. So I think connection is the first step to empower you to have the mind to turn it into governance. Because I think being able to go to the negotiation rooms or having a motivation to learn those languages, it needs a lot of motivation. So connection is the first step. And then that for our organization, after we recruit these students and then the camp ends, we will hold a alumni network for them to come back and we will form relationships with those students so we can have a continuous partnership. So they can come back to our future students. And also, when they come back or when we started more community with these students and senators and people, we will have our own style of governance or how we look at how we govern the local situation. So we could like different communities, different styles of governance. Getting power in the local community, we don't really have. I'm not recently I'm starting to think about having a seat at the table, which is inspired by he said that instead of having a seat at the table, why don't we own another table or why don't we have our own power let them come to us, and come to the local people and learn. But what the kids might not are doing, they don't get a conscious piece, but they come to the lands of the indigenous people and learn from them. So you can trace back to ancestral wisdoms and be how do we live sustainably without all history of cultures. So yeah, having a seat at the table isn't really an inclusion. We still need to go our own developments of the local communities. This is also what Ecovillages are doing. So.
I also learned something that happened back home. And home to me is called Alphavais Julias. It's in the bioregion of Chapada do Brazil. And when I was at Consul, I was trying to pass laws on the rights of nature, on eco-villages, and none of them got accepted because it was beside being like a political persecution. They didn't also have the understanding of those subjects and how important they were to protect themselves. So one of them was to put a view on goals to elaborate a municipal plan for the climate change adaptation. So we were just trying to understand what were the risks of my town and how we could plan ahead ways in which we would avoid those risks to become a reality in this climate emergency. And that was approved in our instance, and then the law needs to go to the mayor, and the mayor just veto the whole process and send it back, and it was not approved. So I think we talked a little bit about education and how education is key, not just to speak amongst ourselves, but how to educate politicians also in order for them to understand the reality that we are facing. And I would just say that, we need to choose politicians that are speaking our language, because it's difficult to change the system, but if we change the people that are governing the system, we can create better opportunities for this type of movements that speak in the name of the youth and the communities can have a place and make an action, like regenerative action. So I just want to check with you all, like after being here for all these days at the park, if you have like any good examples that you heard, that in this many opportunities, that these many side events, or the People's Summit, or the Aldeia, which are the indigenous movements gathering together, or even here to do so, like what are the examples that you can bring back home and you feel that can make a difference? And we are running out of time, so I don't know if all will have these examples to share to see if so we can all speak about it.
We have our own examples in which we are part of the movement for the rest of the for the leadership is here to be which is Erica, is women and the and she is an indigenous people from the people who and she's the one who is carrying on the voice of the leader. So it's recently has always this kind of be and she was I don't know university and yes, it's a condition of these rivers was an example for many other rivers that we have today in Brazil, and like 5 or 6, and it's very massive. So this is an example. I think this came from understanding the like the mountain people in the River and other rivers, and then we are pushing probably the overall soul. It's something that is really.
Thank you, Honey, and with the knowledge, I'm gonna share that when you just made the question, I was like, well, I cannot think about many well examples. I wish that example would be that we have like a pavilion here where it was represented by the forest and the Amazon, you know, we're also know the Amazon, but the Amazon is not here. So that's why we're bringing the rights of the Amazon to be stable. So I wish that with the pavilion here of the Amazon speaking for herself and like us listening when the Amazon really was tell us directly. So I think that that's missing. However, I don't wanna end on a negative note. I think that there are a lot of negative news, but I think that the global movement of the rights of nature has gone quite a ways. And I feel that in these negotiations, different from many others, we actually have one government that is leading the way. And I really want to acknowledge that it's Panama. Panama is a country that we have one country with the rights of nature constitution, that's my country, Ecuador. We have two countries that have a national laws, Bolivia and Panama. Panama enacted the rights of nature in 2004, and since then, only in less than 2 years, they've been able to implement these laws, national laws of the rights of nature in 5 locations. Now they have a law for turtles, they were able to keep they were able to keep a huge money. In Panama, they were able to pass legislation that is according to the rights of nature. And Panama right now is actually the vice president of COP. And the delegate of Panama, actually with a very busy schedule, you can imagine, came to our yesterday in the Google was with the people saying that he was coming to a people's event because he really cares about what people are saying, what people are saying, and because he's bringing actually the message of the rights of nature to people. So I really want to acknowledge that there is a movement, a government that is leading the way. The champion country is Panama. I wish it was my country, Ecuador. The contrary, Ecuador is trying to throw away our constitution, and we're not going to let that happen this Sunday. However, the government of Panama is leading the way, and I think the call for action here is for the world countries to follow that path, follow the path of the people, follow the path of nature, and bring that message into the negotiation.
The question of work. We have at least 1 million evidence, and she collected some seeds around the area, and she producing plants, and she if one person like to buy that plants from the market, it takes around 100 units. But maybe just given the plants by data, unit. So this way, she is responsible for distributing plants around area around the countries. And responsibility to distribute 100 people around her. So in this way, we are one organization that is taking care of the mental health.
I have to say, I grew up in the city. I'm pretty much a city girl. I rarely get in touch with nature. But before I then, at Berlin, I saw Amazon forest from across the sky. And I just made my forest there. And also, I had a couple of and I also see how they live actually in nature. And that is something I haven't seen in my life. And I think that kind of feelings really touch me. And also the motivation that came here and you honest forest. I think there are the tendency that I would definitely do about it. And I would encourage people in Taiwan, youth in Taiwan, to engage more with nature, that know the power, importance of nature, action to build and thought that person. So that you know the importance to act, to deal with
I think that this you can see where a lot of variety of different people outside and inside the venue, and you can see that because it's near, so that they have more chances of getting involved. But I hope that in the future, like tracing back to the traditional knowledge or cultural knowledge that has a connection with nature, with ourselves, with each other. And I think this will be a very integral part of governance in the future. That we're not just focused on carbon, we're not just focused on data, just one on earth, but with experience and cultural identities, with harmony with each other, emotions.
And if you have in store, I see people have more afraid to make change. And I see the people that they look like I said out here, they have a ton of knowledge to change the future, not for us.
Yes, I came here, I started my COP30 journey yesterday. But I can say that yesterday I've already learned some things that will be useful for our community in Suriname. Also in this panel, I heard some things that are very useful. So I am confident that with this COP30, I can bring a strong message to my community in Suriname.
And I say that I feel very inspired, not by only official events, but everything that is happening outside. I've been lots of indigenous protests, and all the voices that are heard are maybe in the corridor. So let's keep our minds, hearts, and souls open to those conversations, because if you want to make a difference, it needs to start with us. So I just went this panel with a very inspired saying by Bill Mollinson, who is the father of permaculture. And he says many sustainable systems are not implemented by those who hold power. And the reason is simple: allowing people to build their own homes, grow their own food, and generate their own energy means losing power over them. So he says that we must stop looking at hierarchical structures or waiting for the governments to help us, but instead to help ourselves. So thank you very much for coming today.